Members of the House, colonialism did not die with the fall of the British Empire. Today, it might be better hidden, but it still exists. Money still flows away from the most vulnerable to line the pockets of the rich, the big cities, and the developed world. On proposition, we stand against this. What are large retail chains? These are firms that operate in the retail market and have a significant market share within the economy. This can include foreign MNCs like Walmart and Tesco, which are dominated by foreign talents who fill managerial positions, as well as urban firms like Whole Foods, which enter rural areas like Tennessee and Nebraska. Often, it is locals within these communities who are relegated to the lowest of positions, like as cashiers and shop assistants. What are local businesses? These are enterprises which are operated by locals within the community itself. This includes the mama shops we see all across Bali, as well as the provision shops on the streets of Taiwan, local clothing stores in Grenada. Crucially, profits reaped by local businesses often go directly back into the local economy because they are run by local citizens for local citizens. What's our policy? For that, yes.
You say that locals are only delegated to lower positions like cashier. Who do you think is hired to be higher up positions like management and middle management?
So we think that the comparative is that with local businesses, it is more likely they can enter positions like, for instance, within the auditing, within inventory, and within managerial roles. It is within large industries where these positions tend to be filled with expats from other nations or urban centers. What's our policy? 1. We will impose restrictions on the opening of stores operated by large retail chains to protect local businesses. 2. These restrictions can come in the form of subsidies for local businesses, caps on the number of outlets that retail chains can open within a specific region, guaranteeing a minimum number of managerial positions for locals, and high corporate taxes to ensure that the profits reaped go back to citizens and the local economy. 3. We support all of the measures to prevent monopolies from dominating the economy, like antitrust laws within the retail sector. If on opposition, they truly believe in the benefits of large retail chains, then they must remove any and all regulations that control the spread of these companies. So if their next speaker has any form of substantial regulations on large retail chains, they need to prove why this is not a contradiction. Therefore, it is on proposition that we uniquely create a balance between the benefits of large retail chains and the benefits of protecting local industries. We will forward 3 arguments. 1. We protect local citizens. 2. We protect the local economy. And 3. My second speaker will tell you how we prevent an over-reliance on large retail chains. My first argument is on how we protect local citizens. My thesis is that large retail chains dominate the local economy and hurt citizens in a number of ways. Premise: large retail chains will dominate the entire market for 2 reasons. 1. They can cut out competitors because they have a larger scale of production. Since they operate across the entire nation, or even worldwide, they can spread out the cost of sourcing ingredients in bulk from farmers and textiles in bulk from factories over many stores, giving them an artificially lower cost of production. With this lower cost, they can expand more easily without any rain. 2. They have a massive consumer base across nations or across the community. This grants them a very large profit base. This allows them to engage in predatory pricing, where they actively make a loss by setting extremely low prices to drive out their competitors. The problem is that once these local rivals are driven out of the market, they immediately jack up their prices again to maximize their profit. This hurts consumers who have to suffer fluctuating prices over items that are as essential as groceries and medication. We saw this with Walmart, which competed local department stores in Vietnam after the government loosened corporate regulation. Today, the prices of basic necessities like Panadol and asthma inhalers went up 5-fold. Why does this hurt local citizens? 1. The domination of large retail chains prevents local businesses from thriving. Small medium enterprises can no longer provide jobs to locals, but it is precisely these local businesses who provide the most sustainable job opportunities. Compared to large retail chains that fill managerial positions with individuals from other regions, like other cities and other nations, this means that local citizens can never rise up the value chain to earn a higher wage or to improve their standard of living. Instead, they are forced to be a cashier or a store clerk. Even worse, someone who has never been to high school and instead has worked in the family business in a butcher shop in the UK for the past 3 decades might not even be offered a job by the large retail chain that opens a store and takes away their business. We solve this because with restrictions like mandating a minimum number of locals within managerial positions, when CVS opens a new pharmacy in Tennessee, we guarantee sustainable job opportunities. Yes?
Does proposition support closing existing large retail stores?
Well, we think this is based on a balance, but we think it is really necessary. If there are 0 local businesses because they've all been driven out by large retail chains, we say sure, close them down, provide more subsidies to local businesses. The second half of large retail chains is that the revenue generated rarely trickles down to locals. It It is precisely because locals remain within the low-level jobs that the proportion of the revenue that companies earn given to them in wages is very minute. The bulk of the company's income is siphoned away into the 6-digit checks of regional executives. Profits go to shareholders in city centers. This means that money made within a local community or within a nation is siphoned away. We solve this through restrictions like more taxes and forcing dividends to local citizens in that community for each new chain which is opened. This means that we keep job opportunities within the community, we keep money within the economy. My second argument is on how we protect the economy. This argument will prove to you that large retail chains prevent the economy from developing, which is necessary to raise standards of living across the board. There are 3 structural ways in which large retail chains hurt the economy. 1, they prevent the creation of sustainable economic sectors. Since this debate largely or significantly occurs when large retail chains in the developed world, like Walmart or Costco, enter developing nations, this hurts the ability for developing nations to specialize in the retail sector. Developing nations naturally and generally have an advantage in the mass production and sale of goods because of a lower labor cost, but they are artificially cut out by these large chains. Comparatively, local businesses are better for the economy because the products that they provide are more targeted at what local communities need. For instance, mom-and-pop stores within Liverpool, which provide a far wider range of Indian spices, and people who are well-versed in the cuisines of the Indian culture to cater to the Indian diaspora, as compared to a large and impersonal organization like Tesco. In Taiwan, 80% of the economy is run by small and medium enterprises, which are run by black-handed bosses who create local mom-and-pop stores and convenience stores. The only reason why they can do this is because Taiwan imposed restrictions on foreign large retail chains. This allows Taiwan to become a vital producer of textiles, particularly in the 70s. 2, they reduce the pool of investment resources for local firms. When local businesses want to expand by increasing their products or the range of products, they need to take money, often from local county banks, for instance, through microfinancing loans. This means that financial institutions that specialize in the region need to grow. However, when the bulk of the money goes to Morgan Stanley overseas or in the city center, none of this money can be taken to fuel local businesses. We solve this by concentrating money within the domestic economy, so we increase the pool of investment resources for local firms to create even more job opportunities locally. 3, large retail chains often rely on external or even foreign suppliers. The reason for this is because they can purchase in bulk from foreign suppliers which may be cheaper. However, this means that the prices in the supply of important goods are subject to global trade rates and to political uncertainty when you outsource them to other nations. The entire production chain is often shifted to other regions. So instead of local chicken farmers who are benefited by local butchers within Australia, these factory farms in India, they will profit and earn the income when Woolworths sets up more stores. On our side, local businesses which tend to work more on mutual trust and source their supplies from local suppliers, we concentrate economic activities within the region. So we create a more vibrant retail sector, we increase the pool of investment resources, and we benefit local supply chains. We benefit the local economy, we generate more job opportunities in the long term. That's why we believe that the economy should belong to all, not some. We propose.
The first proposition speaker spent 8 minutes and 10 seconds.
Ladies and gentlemen, large retailers do far more than just give me the ability to buy an Xbox on a Sunday night. They provide people with goods at low prices that certain families in low-income communities depend on in order to survive. They provide employment to communities, employment that is going to be lost on Team Singapore's side of the house. And it is because Team Singapore hasn't understood the full scope of the importance of large industries that Team Canada is so proud to oppose under the case line, protect the whole to protect its parts. Team Canada believes that Team Singapore needs to prove three things in order to win this debate. First of all, Team Singapore needs to prove that these restrictions are the only way to protect the small businesses they so much want to protect. Second, they need to prove that they are actually effective in the first place. And third, they need to prove that small businesses are the far and away the most important actor in this debate. Three things they haven't done so far. Team Canada will prove to you how shutting out big business hurts more people than it hurts. Or sorry, shutting out big retailers hurts more people than it helps. So we will present, no thank you, three arguments. First, in defense of the buyer. Second, the beating heart of communities. And my partner will bring to you the argument to poke a sleeping dragon. Let's begin with their model. What do we have to say in response to this? We don't think Team Singapore has honored the spirit of the motion with their definition. We think to be concrete on placing restrictions, they need harsh zoning laws to protect Walmarts from opening in the first place. They need to be able to literally prevent them from opening, not just make it more expensive. But second of all, it's in contention with their case. If Walmart is as destructive as Team Singapore says it is, why are they okay just giving a little bit of a subsidy to small businesses? We say they should shut them down entirely, something they actually conceded later on in response to our POI. Team Singapore's first argument has the following problem. They haven't proved that it's effective. Why? Because just because you shut down Walmart, Walmart will just go online and will be able to ship everything that people want without the retail store. We would rather have the store there to employ people than have it just be done by Amazon with no employees. In response to their second argument about protecting economies, Team Canada said that Team Singapore failed to prove why local businesses are the only actors that matters in communities, in the economies of entire nations, such as Indonesia, the one we are in right now. With that in mind, let's move on to Team Canada's first constructive argument in defense of the buyer. The premise of this argument is that large retailers, no thank you, provide unique benefits to consumers, which is a social good we should allow to occur. What are these benefits? First, they provide consumers with unique classes of goods that small businesses can't. First, we think this is things like technological goods, like iPhones, like computers, like Wi-Fi Ethernet networks, and the ability to set them up in your home, things small businesses can't provide. Second, they provide a larger variety of goods. So even if I don't want to buy a computer, if I want to just buy a duvet, the more duvets I have, the better I can choose what duvet I want. Why is it that small businesses can't provide these goods? First of all, because large retailers have existing suppliers and can afford to import things overseas, something small suppliers can't. But second, they're able to use economies of scale to buy large things in bulk, making the price of individual things cheaper, which is why Walmart is often the only supplier in communities of vegetarian food, or kosher food, or halal food, because small businesses that don't have enough of an incentive to tailor to smaller groups within those communities don't have the incentive to do it, don't have the price line to do it. Second, large retailers often provide far cheaper goods because, once again, they can order large things in bulk, but also because they order things in regular inventory schedules, whereas a small business only orders things when they're needed. Walmart orders things on like a 3-month basis, so suppliers know they're going to get a sale and can sell each unit for cheaper. Small businesses can't do that, also because they can't afford things like shipping over long distances, which large businesses can afford for cheaper. But third, we think large retailers also provide consumer benefits because competition can lead to things like consumer rewards, cash back in conjunction with large credit, and other things. When you have, say, Target, JCPenney, Macy's, and Walmart competing all against each other in the same community, no thank you. What is the impact of this? First of all, we just think in the materialist world we live in, people are happier when they have access to more products, and we think that happiness is something governments should stand up for. But second, more people can afford goods that they wouldn't have been able to afford before. When families depend on markdowns, depend on big sales in Black Friday that small retailers can't provide, Team Singapore has to defend keeping goods away from those families, something they haven't done on their side of the house. Yes?
Why must we assume that only local businesses or large retailers can exist? Why can't both coexist? through a balancing policy.
Because it's intention to your case. You literally said, if large retailers are as powerful as you say they are, it drives the smaller ones out of business. I'm not sure how you can say that they're as pernicious as you say they are, but still support coexistence. It's a huge concession on Team Singapore's part, ladies and gentlemen. The second argument Team Opposition is bringing to you today, Team Canada is bringing to you today, is the beating heart of communities. The premise of this argument is, large retailers provide unique economic benefits to communities that mean that they should be allowed to enter those communities. What's our analysis? First, we think that they employ more people. Why do they employ more people than small businesses? First of all, superstores can stay open for 24 hours, meaning they need to hire 2 or 3 times as many people, something that is directly gone against in Team Singapore's model. But second, they need to do things like have shipping warehouses close by. They need middle management to be local in order to make sure that things run smoothly. These are not only jobs, but often higher paying jobs in industries where people wouldn't have been able to get them before. Second benefit to economies is that large supercenters often encourage spending. Why is that? Because more goods are in the same place, and stores like Walmart and Target have huge brands that encourage people to come by through things like advertising. Not only do they provide goods cheaper because of their ability to use suppliers to their advantage, but now because more people are buying goods, the superstores make more money, that money gets taxed by the government, the communities in which those superstores in therefore get more money. That's good for all people that live in those communities. Team Singapore only wanted to talk about small businesses. But third, we think that often these large businesses provide infrastructure in ways that small businesses cannot. Notice that in order to open a Target, you not only need to have roads big enough in order to have trucks, you need to have things like plumbing, you need to have things like electricity that can run 24 hours a day. You need to be able to have a strong internet connection for them to be able to communicate with suppliers, middle management, and offices in their community. Why is this so important? Not only do all people benefit from having good plumbing, good roads, and good internet, but even if that superstore closes down, all of that infrastructure remains when they're gone. So this is a long-term, permanent benefit to these communities that small businesses are simply unable to provide. The impact, ladies and gentlemen, is this. Large retailers can quite literally become the engines, the hive, the epicenter of local communities. Communities depend on them in order to have jobs, to have goods, in order to live happy lives. And we think for Team Singapore to restrict them from opening, to preventing all of those benefits from seeping into communities that could otherwise have them, that could otherwise have the benefits that other parts in the world have as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, what Team Canada has done for you and what we will do for you is prove 2 things. First, that shutting down large retailers does more harm to more people than it does good. But second, that large retailers can provide unique and specific benefits that small businesses are unable to do in the status quo, which is why it is such a shame that Team Singapore wants to prevent them from opening, wants to prevent them from being able to give good to their communities. The thing you should remember, ladies and gentlemen, is this. It might be easy to attack globalization. It might be easy to say that Walmart is after the sovereignty of countries like Indonesia. But ask the people in the communities in which Walmart is what they think of it. Ask the families that want to be able to afford vegetarian food for children who want to eat vegetarian food, or like according to their religion, or like other things vegetarian foods good for the environment, all what have you. This is why Team Canada is proud to oppose. Thank you.
opposition would do very well if they applied to be part of the marketing department at Walmart, because they do a very good job of hiding the huge human cost that lies behind the marginally lower price tags at the store. They forget that sometimes protecting the whole does not mean protecting the parts. When the whole is a whole that exploits the parts, when it takes money away from the parts, when it tells you that this is what you must buy at the price I set. They do not understand the huge cost that goes behind these huge, large retail chains. Two questions. One, how do we protect the economy? Two, how do we protect consumers? One, on the economy. I want to be clear what Team Opposition has to stand for. They have to stand for the uncontrolled spread of these large industries, because if you tell us that large retail chains always provide more Xboxes and lower prices that are so good for people on the ground, then they have to stand for things like lowering taxes for these individuals. They have to stand for things like encouraging them to come in and set up shops in rural areas. That is the burden they have to stand for. Any higher tax they stand for does actually amount to restrictions on the openings of these companies, because now they are less likely to open a shop. So they are being hugely inconsistent and hiding the ugly truth of what they actually have with their policy. But furthermore, they misrepresented what we actually stand for. To be clear, we are not attacking globalization. We are not saying that we do not want any large retail chain to exist at all. We are talking about a balance. And why is this something we can stand for? Look, we told you how the current problem is an imbalance. If you think about it, the solution is a balance where we can have a toolbox and a spectrum of measures. So, if currently local businesses do not exist at all, maybe we stand for harsher zoning laws, maybe we stand for harsher, more tightly controlling measures. But if they exist currently, then we can stand for less significant measures, things like, for example, subsidies and just restricting the number of new stores for Walmart that can be opened. We can do a spectrum, because on our side, we do not have to stand for absolutely just banning all large retail chains. In fact, in the long term, once local industries have built up their own local economy, once local businesses have become more established, we can invite these large retail chains. The difference is that now they compete on an equal level, because the local retail chain has now been developed to a point that it can compete with these foreign stores. So huge misrepresentation coming out from Team Opposition. So they talked about employment and how this results in more jobs. I want to be clear that employment is probably more important than prices. That if we take them on their highest ground and suppose that we can have marginally lower prices, that is less important than ensuring you actually have a job. They said you create more jobs because these stores are open 24 hours. No, I think they just make workers work longer hours in the store. They don't actually hire more workers. Two, they said, but the difference is that we need middle management. No. Look, if you are Walmart, it probably makes more sense to invite someone from, let's say, the US, from a more developed city who has gone through your training programs, rather than just hire a random local person off the street. It is much easier for Walmart to say, I want someone who understands the company culture, who won't embarrass the company, and therefore hire middle management and these professionals to fill up the more important jobs in the position. Therefore, the point is that they provide these individuals maybe with jobs, but these are low-paying jobs that in no way substitute for what we can provide on our side. Furthermore, I question whether these people will even be employed. Think about it. There are many people who are a bit more aged, a bit older people who run local businesses. So let's say you're a 50-year-old man who has built up a career running with personal relations with the community around him. I don't think Walmart would hire him because they say he doesn't have a college degree, he isn't educated enough, he's too old for the young company culture we want. So I question whether Walmart would even hire these people in the first place and whether they even provide them with a job. But they dropped my first speaker's analysis on how local producers also get affected. So it's not just local retailers. Because if you're Carrefour, it's probably easier to get ingredients from a French supplier back in France because you have local connections, because that's where you source your ingredients from. At the point at which local businesses completely disappear, then local producers who produce raw materials like eggs, like the food you use to create food products, get harmed. And this harms their livelihoods and their ability to earn a decent wage. Before I move on, yes?
What Team Singapore calls predatory pricing, a family calls being able to afford dinner. Why take away their dinner?
Sir, you take away that dinner, because predatory pricing does not last forever. Once everyone has been outcompeted, once they've driven out all the local businesses, there is nothing to stop them from driving their prices back up. It's a simple economics. They simply create higher prices. More people can't afford dinner in the world of Team Opposition. So, we also gave you a second substantive about how this takes money away from the local economies. No, this was not responded to on the other side. They stand for a world where the money flows out of local banks, of local businesses, away to the cities, away to the developed world. We don't stand for that. Second question, therefore, on consumers. So, you have this weird characterization of all local businesses being without electricity, without plumbing, these very undeveloped businesses. That's not how it works. Many local businesses are adapting to the modern world. So, for instance, they are doing things like going online, having delivery services within their communities. And the point is that I think you would much rather have the government building infrastructure than Walmart, because Walmart is going to build the pipes around its store and nowhere else, and the government is much better at that. Furthermore, the idea on how this results in lower prices, again, has to do with my first biggest analysis of how they create monopolies that drive prices up even more. Furthermore, I would posit that big companies like Walmart and Tesco collude, not compete. So it's not that they compete to create nice consumer benefits. Things like Black Friday sales are normally a scam to get you to buy things you don't actually need. I think it is a huge misrepresentation to say these are so good for the consumer because they offer things at lower prices. No thank you. Furthermore, we talked about the quality of goods. This means variety. Because when local producers can produce goods that are catered to local needs, so for instance, in the Muslim community, creating more halal products, creating hijabs, that is much better for the consumer on the ground. My understanding, therefore, on how we prevent over-reliance on large retail chains. So, this takes them on that higher. Suppose these large retail chains become the engine and the epicenter of these new communities. We think that's bad, because an over-reliance means that once they leave, and at the point at which they suddenly leave, the community is left with huge unemployment and an inability to afford products. To be clear, I think it's very clear that they have to stand for a huge system where many companies, big large retail chains come in and dominate the local economy, where they push up local businesses, because if that's all the benefits about big companies, they have to stand for that. Why is this bad? This creates an over-reliance. Oftentimes, many large retail chains like Walmart are more likely to do things like suddenly close shop and leave. This is because local rural communities form a smaller part of their revenue stream. They form an insignificant part that the company headquarters can easily say, oh, it isn't making much of a profit, I think we should leave this rural area and move somewhere else where we can get more profit. At the point at which these large retail chains are able to easily just leave and close shop, this creates huge harms on the communities. Because when big corporations close up, they don't bother with the good buys. They leave within a week, slashing prices so you can have discounts so they don't have to stay anymore. And you know what that means? That means that suddenly, thousands of individuals are out of a job. Because if they step out of characterization that this is so important to their employment, then at the point at which they leave, thousands of people no longer have a job and they can't just transition back to their old businesses. Because once the old businesses have disappeared, oftentimes the generational corporations, the generational companies simply don't exist anymore. Furthermore, they just create a huge dearth of supplies, because when you have competed out local mama shops, local provision shops, local department stores, what this means is that when the big Walmart closes up and leaves, there is nothing left to provide these basic necessities that people depend on. In essence, by telling us about the short-term benefits of these companies, they fail to deal with the long-term dangers that creating an over-reliance on these people creates. That is why on our side we are much better. Number one, because we can have a diversity of stores, which means that even if one closes down, it does not result in the huge systemic unemployment, the huge systemic lack of products that they will have on their side. But furthermore, when these are local companies, where they have only one revenue stream, they are just less likely to just close up because they only depend on that area and they can't just shift somewhere else. At the end of the day, we understood that the economy should be in the hands of all, not in the hands of some. We propose.
has to support and stand for the uncontrolled spread of multinational corporations and their insidious, borderline evil chains. We tell you this is false, and we have 2 grounds upon which we can test this. Firstly, Team Singapore themselves conceded in a point of information that they support and believe in the possibility of the coexistence of large chains and local businesses. Please don't forget this detrimental concession. Secondly, we do not have to support the uncontrolled spread of large chains by any stretch. We just contest the idea that they are generally harmful, that they're as harmful as Team Singapore says, and that they're as harmful to as big a group as they claim. Our actual burdens are in this debate are to show that, firstly, Team Singapore does not effectively protect local businesses, and secondly, that they actually do more harm to local people than good. We tell you they have to prove. Firstly, they protect local business. Secondly, they have the only way to protect local business. And thirdly, that local business is the most important actor to protect. We've disproven all those grounds. Let's show this through refutation of what we've heard down bench from Team Singapore today. They gave you an argument about how they're going to protect local citizens with this motion. And here they told us that local businesses have the most sustainable model of employment. And right off the bat, when they said this in the POI, or in their model, I offered a POI, which I said, why is it that why multinational corporations only employ local people to have lower tier positions like cashier? They didn't give a reason then. Later on, the second speaker gave an answer, which is that essentially they're just going to bring in someone else to do the management and middle management. Once again, we didn't get a reason why. I would say that that's very unlikely. They have to pay for the life transition of this person. They probably have to buy them a new house. They might have to train them to speak English. I really don't know why these middle management positions are going to go to foreign people. I think actually they're going to go to locals, giving a lot of locals a lot of really valuable training. That was part of our unique benefit. They secondly gave us an argument about how they protect economy. Here they told us that essentially large chains are going to disemploy a lot of small businesses. Even if that's true, it hurts the 4 families who operate a store on Main Street. It helps every single consumer buy the products they need to stay alive and chase their conception of the good life. Even if that's true, that's a comparative harm that we just win on. They gave you their argument about preventing specialization of the developing countries through the rise of large chains. Even if this is true, it empowers people in the developing countries to have the best technology, to have the best products. So even if they aren't becoming the best in the world at textiles in the case of Thailand, the people of Thailand can compete with the best of the world in any industry. We think this is very valuable. They told us that local businesses can offer more diverse, specialized products. Firstly, this is only true for the biggest minority, like they cite the Indian diaspora in Liverpool. What about smaller minorities, like for example, a LeBron James fan in Liverpool, right? We think that person isn't really served by local business. Or like more importantly, like Armin tells you, maybe the only person who's celiac in the community, who the local business doesn't have enough of a profit structure to cater to. Secondly, if this is so true, that local businesses offer excellent, important, amazing products that people want so badly, then they'll vote with their dollar, and we won't need to interfere to keep them alive. In terms of rebuild, it's mostly a rehash of their constructive that we got for reputation, so I'll deal with it quickly. But I want to say that they pointed out that the predatory cheaper pricing doesn't last forever, because later on, once the small businesses close down, the MNCs build a monopoly. Here's why that's not true. Huge chains have to compete with each other. They have to compete with Amazon. That's why so many large chains exist. Their response to this was, no, they don't compete. They collude. A few responses. Firstly, that's illegal, right? The government can stop it when it happens. Secondly, that historically has not been true as evidenced by the multitudinous myriad of large chains that exist. Thirdly, if their whole case rests on a big conspiracy theory, I'm not really sure how far they've gotten today. Okay, with that in mind, let's get into my constructive contention to poke a sleeping dragon. Let's see that Singapore's characterization of MNCs as profit-oriented entities with no other motives is true. The more true this is, the less likely multinational corporations are to take government's interference with its profit margin lying down. In other words, nobody puts Walmart in a corner. When you put the most powerful people in society with the most dollars on the line in a corner, they don't submit, they fight back. Yes?
Walmart won't be happy with letting that small corner store continue to exist because it wants to be the only one around. That is why you have to stand for allowing them to take over entire entire communities.
We don't have to stand for the things you're telling us we have to stand for. You yourself stated that they can coexist in a POI, right? But I'm going to actually address this further by the mechanism that POI cited of Walmart being unhappy with the coexistence of these sorts of regulations in my constructive. Okay, when you interfere with these huge profit margins, Walmart and other huge MNCs will find a way to recoup the loss. There are two routes they can take that are detrimental to what Team Singapore has told you. Firstly, they can accept that their brick and mortar stores will no longer be profitable. Recognize that this argument operates on the range of possibilities for the harshness of the restrictions Team Singapore wants to impose. Since they haven't been clear on how harsh those are going to be, this first idea of the route that MNCs can take has a world where these restrictions are a little bit harsher, right? They say our brick and mortar stores can't be profitable anymore. What do? In this case, they cut their losses and they run. They cease to employ local people. They evacuate real estate. They liquidate their stock. This significantly harms the local community in the short term. What happens in the long term is even worse. When large chains are forced to shut down brick and mortar stores, they recoup their bottom line via online retail. They do this by having reduced costs, reduced shipping costs, offering same-day shipping, having things like Amazon Prime Days. Online will become necessarily more affordable than the local businesses Singapore wants to protect. So the choice is not what they tell you. The choice isn't mom and pop shop or Walmart. The choice is Walmart or Walmart online. And at least with Walmart, they're employing local people and training them and empowering the community. Okay, let's say the restrictions aren't super tough and Walmart keeps their brick and mortar stores open. They still need to recoup the loss, and there are two ways that they can do this that harm the actors that Team Singapore wants to protect. The first thing they can do is cut costs. This looks like selling lower quality products and a lower variety of products. This harms the consumers that we have consistently protected on Team Canada. The second thing they can do is pay employees less. Those are the same local people that Team Singapore wants to protect who are getting harmed. The other thing that they can do is influence the political sphere. I think Team Singapore needs to accept that they can't implement this motion as some sort of fixed pillar of the policy landscape. Every new government will have to reaffirm this policy. MNCs have the necessary clout and money to get their desired candidate in office. They typically don't do this because it garners them press attention that can affect their bottom line. But when a certain candidate's policy on restricting their bottom line is lower than the bottom line affectation that will happen from bad press by influencing the political sphere, they make that calculation. They choose to exercise their clout. That means that they're going to put their campaign financing budgets towards the candidates that will offer them the lower restrictions, which means that even if Team Singapore proves everything they set out to prove to you today, it's a really weak mechanism because ultimately the governments who are enforcing it are going to be bought out by the corporations who they poked so severely by getting in the way of their bottom line. That's why Team Canada is taking the debate. Thank you.
The second opposition speaker spent 8 minutes and 16 seconds.
So all debates are made good with context. So what's the context and the situation we're looking at? Our first speaker told you that in the absence of restrictions and regulation, it is not harmony, it is not a balance, it is the domination of large retail chains. He gave you two reasons that weren't dealt with.
First, artificially low cost due to your ability to scale massively and lower unit cost of production. Secondly, your ability to use things like predatory pricing to artificially lower your prices to cut out competitors. So let's make it very clear. In the absence of restriction, which is opposition's case, they do not live harmoniously. It is the domination of one. That is why our case was a balancing act. By implementing restrictions on a spectrum with a huge amount of gradation depending on the situation of the local economy, we can strike a better balance between the benefits of local businesses and the benefits of large retail chains. At this point, a lot of their case is irrelevant, because if you can have both benefits at the same time by creating a balancing act, the entire case is gone. But I'm going to go a step further and prove to you, but even if we needed to prove one over the other, we would still prefer local chains on our side of the house. I have two broad areas of clash. Firstly, on which policy best benefits local citizens, and second, which policy best benefits the local economy. First, on local citizens. Now, the first issue under local citizens is, where can we provide better job opportunities? Do we want to rely on local businesses, or do we want to rely on large external retail chains? They say that these individuals will be able to find jobs from large retail chains. But my second speaker told you that it's highly dubious whether some people of unique, vulnerable minority status will even get those job opportunities to begin with. What happens if Walmart's company culture is to hire young people within their cashiers? Now, many people have dedicated their entire lives to set up a single convenience shop within their community. These are people that require these local businesses to even feed their family. But these are people who will lose their jobs. You see that in second. We had absolutely no response to that. I want to hear a response in the first speaker. No, thank you. But the next idea they gave us under this was that these large external companies can hire more people. Again, we said that was dubious. It's true that they do have 24-hour shops, but why won't they just force an individual to work longer hours with the same amount of pay? Insofar as we've mentioned from the beginning of this debate, they often dominate the economy of these entire communities. And as they say, they hold these economies in a stranglehold in the second speaker, that it's very easy for them to get away with such exploitation on your side of the house. We generally think that local businesses that are part of your own community have less of an incentive to exploit their own neighbors in these instances. But more importantly, it's not just about the quantity of jobs available, but the quality of jobs available. We say it's only local businesses that allow you to enter things like middle management instead of being paid a minimum wage, which isn't very empowering within the long term. They say, but the incentive to hire middle management which are local, so you can understand local cultures. Here's the problem. This does not balance out the pressure from the headquarters, for instance, to be nationalistic in hiring policy. In fact, many of these things are actual laws from these countries. For instance, Walmart and Tesco are obliged through Trump's new policies to hire more foreign expats precisely because of his nationalistic, rhetoric and protectionistic policies when Walmart expands into China. So because of such overriding pressure, it's not true this is the case. In contrast, the benefits of getting smaller and local opinions can be done through other ways instead of hiring local middle managers. They can just get a small consultancy group for them to get these other opinions. So it's not true that the only way for them to get those benefits is through hiring middle management from local sources. The next rebuttal they had was that, but expats are expensive, therefore they will never do this. Well, it's true that foreign expats are expensive, but they also want their money to flow back to their original country. They want their own local citizens to earn this money, not local individuals on the ground who can then use that money to create local businesses to compete with them. So they have every incentive to keep people poor within these regions to prevent competition within the long term. This was exactly why Taiwan was able to succeed, as we said in the first speaker, because we allowed for individuals to learn from these foreign companies through a balancing act and then use their income to create their own small medium enterprises. But when you have no restrictions on your side of the house, such as ensuring that a certain number of jobs is given to local producers and local middle managers, this means they can never get the kind of training and skills to set up their own businesses on our side of the house. No, thank you. Next area under local citizens is the idea of low prices. Now I want to compare the benefits of low prices with the harms of job opportunities. Firstly, if these individuals are earning low income, it's not clear to me why low prices is necessarily a great thing insofar as it cancels out. But second of all, more job opportunities is more important because low prices have diffuse benefits but concentrated harms. What does this mean? If a company is able to save cost, say $30,000, if it spreads it out across many consumers, each consumer only saves what, $1 or $2? So the effect of low prices is marginal. But when one person goes unemployed, when he's already poor, when he's dedicated his entire life to a convenience shop on outside the house, the harms are a lot more significant in those circumstances. Yes?
You cite longer hours, lower payment, and discriminatory hiring. Isn't it a lot more visible when Walmart regularly engages in that kind of practice than some sort of small local mom and pop shop?
As I mentioned, local businesses have less of incentive to exploit their own neighbors. But second of all, so your solution is for Walmart to do it more so that it finally hits the newspaper so we can finally solve it? I think it would be better if we prevented such exploitative nature to exist to begin with. But my last response is this, and this is incredibly important. Your prices don't stay low on your side of the house. We talked about predatory pricing from the beginning of this debate. Once they cut out their competitors, they jack up the prices. And because they've dominated the entire economy, you have no choice. You have to pay those prices on your side of the house. So even the biggest benefit does not exist. Second area of clash on the local economy. Resale is important for these individual countries to create their own industries. They think that they can just compete in other industries. Here's the problem, you cannot just jump straight to technology. You first need to progress through textiles, which is often necessary when it comes to retail chains on our side of the house. And often, the kind of illegal collusion that we've talked about, as I mentioned in my POI response, is often subtle and unregulated, especially within these rural developing areas that they talked about. There are 4 key reasons, therefore, when we improve these places. Firstly, it's not true that these large companies will leave just because we have some kind of restriction. We say that these are places we still have a huge market, and therefore you still want to enter these places. Furthermore, restrictions only increase your cost by a minimal amount. They earn huge super normal profit from the entire world. I think they're willing to take this slight increase in cost. That is why they won't go online, and that is why if there's a problem in political lobbies influencing the government, that's exactly the problem. When they allow these large retail chains to dominate the economy, that's exactly why the problem existed to begin with. To that extent, they were very unresponsive to all of the analysis. First, we talk about how they cater to local needs. It's not just about whether you have the profits to cater to local needs. It's whether you have the incentive and the care to cater for local needs. Walmart does not care about a small Muslim neighborhood that wants more clothing items like hijabs. It is local producers that care about these kind of things because they intimately live with these neighbors. That is the incentive that we talked about from the beginning of this debate that was now dealt with. Furthermore, we talk about preserved funds for investment, how we talk about how these small, medium enterprises can expand and grow slightly bigger. This is important because all of the benefits are from slightly larger corporations. But local businesses can have at least 1 or 2 or 3 small chains, which then allows them to lower prices to some amount. So a lot of the benefits that they talked about can still be done. The reason why they can't do this is because of the domination of large retail chains on their side of the house. The economy needs to belong to everyone, not just some. For all of these reasons, we are very proud to stand in proposition.
The third proposition speakers spend 8 minutes and 14 seconds.
Both sides in this debate have agreed on the same end goal, which is providing a better quality of life for people, that being workers or consumers. there's necessarily a balance that must always be struck. Some people can't be hired, there can't be 100% employment rate. Some people have to pay higher prices for goods. So the question in this debate becomes, who benefits the largest group of people and presents to them the largest and most beneficial magnitude of that benefit? That being said, I want to point out 3 strategic things outside of Proposition's case before I get into 2 areas of clash. The first thing to note is that if they've identified such a huge problem in the status quo, which is these companies are making it impossible to have any sorts of competition, their mechanism doesn't line up with the scope of the problem that they've identified. That is to say, if they're saying the problem is that large companies can buy up smaller companies because they're so wealthy, they can still do that even if it's slightly more expensive. They're saying that Walmart can still do things like bulk buy and do things that make it so that they have lower prices undercutting their competitors. All they do is make it slightly cheaper for the subsidized small businesses to be able to afford these goods. So they're not actually attacking the root of the problem that they've identified is causing the issues. Second thing to note, Team Proposition doesn't spend enough time defending why their world is better than ours. What they've done throughout this debate is push on us burdens that we don't actually have to fulfill. So they've pushed on us that we need to support the uncontrollable spread of businesses. We told you this isn't our push burden, and if we can prove to you that you don't have an uncontrollable spread of businesses, this pushing on us of what we need to prove is not only not strategic, but moreover they're hiding behind the word uncontrollable without proving why their world is better. But thirdly, Singapore has only chosen to engage with examples that are the best for their case, but aren't the most common examples. They've only talked about the case where a small mom and pop shop is struggling, they literally cannot compete with the Walmart, those people would be completely unemployed. That's not the majority of cases. We've heard no response to the alternatives that could happen, like going online, like the fact that people won't be able to afford basic products in the developing world, like internet access. No engagement with these broader, more likely outcomes. That being said, 2 areas of clash. Firstly, I'm going to look at competition, and secondly, I'm going to look at how it affects people, both workers and consumers. Firstly, in terms of competition, Proposition hung their case on one claim, which is the idea that MNCs are so harmful because they price out competition and it makes it impossible to have a free spread of products that are cheaper and better quality. Couple of responses. 1, to this point in the debate, I've heard no reason for Proposition why Team Opposition can't support antitrust laws, laws that prevent colluding, laws that prevent price setting. They never explain why this is a tension or a contradiction. Second of all, empirically, they've never substantiated their claim as to why it's true that MNCs price out competition. If you look at how these industries actually are set up, you see Walmart, JCPenney, Target, Sears in one industry. You see Whole Foods, Food Basics, and Costco in the food department. These companies have to pay their managers better. They have to lower their prices more so that their employees don't go to the competitor, so that their customers don't go to the competitor. They haven't engaged with the actual reality. But third of all, the analysis that was given to us by Proposition as to why it's true that MNCs exist is because they say they came from the marketplace in the first place. They say that MNCs exist because they were able to buy up smaller corporations. So their world is creating a world where there are so many small businesses. Why isn't it plausible to assume that some would become larger than others? Some would buy up other small companies. Like, I'm unclear as to what the world of Proposition looks like. Either everyone is so small that you can't provide basic goods and prices are kept really high, or you revert to our world, but you have to take the time of developing all the industries that have already been built up and that are so beneficial for people. Yeah.
Do you think it's better for 1 or 2 small businesses to buy over 1 or 2 shops, or for a single retail chain to dominate the entire community?
So, your side has pushed on us that you have an uncontrollable spread of MNCs, and you've pushed us into this false dichotomy. 2 things to point out here. 1, I don't think the alternative on your side of the house is you have a couple of small businesses cropping up. I think when Walmart shuts down, you have like so many local grocers in the same community who are trying to fulfill the need that Walmart once provided for. I'm unsure as to why that now even more cutthroat competition is beneficial for those small businesses. But we've told you that there will always be a role for at least some mom and pop shops, some specialized niche stores, even if there is a Walmart, because people like having specific interests. But in terms of why the spread won't be uncontrollable, we told you that there will be a role for niche industries as well. There will be competition within the market. You can't just say uncontrollable is necessarily bad if it means lower prices and a better availability of goods.
Madam?
I want to look now at the area of how it affects people, because the next claim that we get from Team Proposition is that MNCs are harmful because they put money in the hands of people who aren't locals, and that when locals are hired, they're cashiers, janitors, and other low-level positions. So, one, this is an assertion that locals are never being put in higher-level positions. Like, we've given you so many reasons why this isn't the case, beyond the fact that, as they've conceded, many governments have laws saying that you should have some level of like domestic talent hired. To like, you literally cannot outsource a manager overseas; they have to be in the store. But the more important response here is, Proposition needs to prove that there will be more benefits to locals when you pass this motion, because they bank their entire case on protecting one small, narrow group of people, versus we're banking ours on protecting a much larger portion of society. Let's talk about those locals. There are two cases that could occur. The retail store closes, or the retail store remains open. If the retail store remains open, so like the Walmart, the Target, which we say is plausible given that their mechanism is so weak, they could go online. They could do things like, because they're being paid more, they have to swallow up the cost of it being more expensive to do business. They now pay their workers less. They're now able to hire fewer workers. But in the case where even Walmart closes, the small business, if they want to grow, still needs to use the same subcontractor. Like if you produce like t-shirts, for example, you still need to use the factory in China. So they've never proven to you why you don't have that outsourcing of jobs necessarily when you have local small businesses. What is all of this to say, and what are you left with? So Proposition has banked their case on protecting this one group of people, which are the most vulnerable mom and pop shops that are unsustainable, that could be killed by the spread of globalization. Here's why under their best case scenario, Opposition still wins. One, in terms of the magnitude of harm, we've never heard them address our impacts of the low-income family not being able to afford food, of people in the developing world not being able to afford cell phones, and all these things that can't exist if you only have small businesses. Versus, even if that mom and pop shop closes, they can be hired by another store. They can be retrained. They can become a part of a franchise. Like they can own a franchise within that own country, but they can even still own their mom and pop shop in many instances. But second of all, in terms of scope, even if it's true that a small set of people is very severely affected by this, we told you that there's a huge impact on all of society when you say that everyone has to be put down to a lower level because you can't have this competition that leads to lower prices and better availability of services. The choice that you're making is between a team that has banked their case on a small portion of society, but empirically been unable to prove to you that they're both harmed in the status quo and will benefit when you pass this motion, versus some Opposition, we have a certainty of harms that will accrue to so many people. If you say that the parts are worth more, are more valuable than the whole, on that basis, we're proud to oppose.
The third opposition speaker spent 8 minutes and 12 seconds.
Team Singapore opened this debate by telling us that colonialism was alive and well, and a pressing threat to small business. They closed this debate by saying that really all they want is a balance. A bit of this, a bit of that, because balance is what leads to good communities. I think the fact that Team Singapore has made such a case shift is that they realize that retail industries and the large retail stores that Team Canada is defending are the lifelines of communities, and that people depend on them, and that they would be ashamed were they to go away. Don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, Team Singapore had to prove 3 things to win this round. First, that small businesses are the most important actor in the round. Second, that their solution was effective at protecting them. And third, that this was the only way to protect them. I'm going to look at this round in 2 areas of clash: protecting consumers and protecting economies. First, on protecting consumers. Team Canada gave a constructive argument on the unique benefit to consumers that large retailers bring: more products and cheaper products. Team Singapore responded by saying that predatory pricing drives costs up and that there's collusion. But on Team Canada, we pointed out that competition still exists. Costco still pays its workers a higher wage to get better customer service. Target and JCPenney still compete with each other, so they close stores when they're beating each other all the time. But that even if that wasn't true, all of them still have to compete against Amazon, ladies and gentlemen, so they have to keep their prices low. But even if there was little competition, Team Canada can still support antitrust laws. Team Canada can still support making sure that people don't work 20-hour days on our side of the house. That was an unfair burden for Team Singapore to put on Team Canada. Team Singapore then said that in the end, higher wages are more important than lower costs for consumers. What Team Canada has to say to that is only some people are employed in retail, but everyone is a consumer. The chef who wants a new computer, the teacher who needs kosher food but can't buy that in local stores. Those are the people that Team Singapore leaves behind in their model that constricts the ability of those people to get the things that adhere to a life of happiness in the material world we live in. So clearly, protecting consumers is protecting communities. And since Team Canada better protects consumers, Team Canada has taken the bait. But now let's look at protecting economies. Team Singapore's big claim was that they will save small business. Team Canada showed that that was ineffective in 2 ways. First, if you make it too expensive for Walmart to open and their model actually is effective, then Walmart will still want all of those customers and just move online. Except now, you don't have the store, you don't have the infrastructure, you don't have all of the jobs. But even if, Team Canada's 3rd speaker pointed out that their model, and something that we've insisted from the first opposition speech in this debate, doesn't actually prevent the harm that they set out. They're not supporting explicit zoning laws to keep companies out. They're not literally preventing them from opening. So if they're right and these companies are as predatory as they say they are, they can just incur the cost and continue the exploitation that they wanted to in the first place. In either case, Team Singapore doesn't win. But Team Canada showed you that we employ people, encourage spending, and build infrastructure. Team Singapore said that companies will hire nationalistically, citing that Trump forced Tesco to do so. Well, if Trump forced Tesco to hire nationalistically, then Costco will hire a local who speaks the language, who they don't have to pay an overseas wage, and who they don't have to ship all the way from America. And so competition again adheres, and the problem is solved. Ladies and gentlemen, Team Singapore didn't contend with the whole scope of what large retail stores provide to working people every day. And it's because they missed that huge scope of the debate that they ultimately can't win this round. Thank you.
Speaker of opposition spent 4 minutes and 9 seconds. And now, to conclude the case for the proposition and the debate as a whole, I call upon Ryan Lee.
I think all debates are about a nuance. And the nuance we gave you from first was this. We can stand for globalization as long as it occurs on everyone's terms. Because when it doesn't, it becomes colonialism. We can stand for a balance, because when there is a balance, when we have strong local businesses and local companies, then these big companies can't be predatory. They can't dominate the market, they can't artificially force up prices, because they are not the only one. We can stand for a balance that allows us to have the benefits of these local industries, but also some of the benefits of these big companies. The difference is that these local companies can now act as a check against these large retail chains and prevent exploitation. So, I actually am confused when I fail to get this nuance, because from first speaker we were very clear. This is the balance that we stand for in this debate. But let's look at the world of team opposition and look at how they did actually result in an uncontrolled spread of large retail chains. You see, the difference between the two sides is this. When it is asserted that that's not their burden in this debate, we actually provided structural reasons for why that is what happens. Think about it. Let's say Walmart comes into a rural area of America where there are currently 10 local businesses. Now, Walmart has a huge revenue stream from other stores in places like New York or Washington that it can now use to cover making a short-term loss in this more rural area. Therefore, what Walmart can now do is it can force the prices of goods artificially down for a short period of time so that everyone flocks to Walmart and no one flocks to the local businesses. And of course, it doesn't happen overnight. But every day when one less customer comes to your local business, and when on the final day, your most regular customer doesn't come anymore, then your local business shuts down. And once the local businesses are out of the way, Walmart now has free rein to jack up prices again. So I think it's in their world that more poor people can't afford vaccination, that they can't afford basic necessities like dinners and medicine. More than that, in the world of team opposition, they fail to realize that it's not just that easy to just find a new job, be rehired, and be retrained. Because sometimes companies like Walmart have a company culture that say you must be young and have a high school degree, a college degree, to get a job. Sometimes you have been running this local store for 50 years. It is the only thing you have done your entire life. And it's not so easy for you to just find a new job in Walmart. And I think when they talk about scope and scale, they need to understand that it's on their side. The scope and scale of harm is biggest. Because maybe for each small individual business, it seems small, but it adds up. When the entire local economy is devastated, when all the local shopkeepers can no longer have the livelihoods they once depended upon, I think that's when the scope and scale of harm is much worse. More than that, in the world of opposition, not only do prices go up, but the quality of products are also less diverse. Because we told you how places like Walmart are more likely to just shift consumption tastes to their own patterns. They are less likely to do things that provide Muslim halal food in Muslim areas because it's just less cost effective for them to do so. So, in their world, they do not stand for helping consumers on the ground. Our world was much better because we were consistent. We told you how we have a scope and scale of benefit because we can stand for a consistent balance in what we stand for. We fulfill the majority burden. And to be clear, in our world, it is not the case that the poor cannot buy food or a cell phone in developing countries. That is not the case. In our world, we can have local businesses grow strong. And all that thing about online stores, this feels to do with what we told you, of how brick and mortar stores still do play an essential role in our economy, when people want to be able to touch the objects, hold the objects before they buy it, and that is not responded to. But the point is that in the world of team affirmative, we have equitable development. We ensure that the most important people in the economy and in society do get a job that they need. So we do fulfill all three burdens we set up from first. We do tell you why on our side we are the most important actor, why our solution is effective, and why our solution is the only way. But I think on their side, they forget the true human cost of this. They forget that we must protect these individuals. They forget that the economy should belong to all, not some. We remember that. That's why we propose.